Hi, I'm Matt. I've decided to record a video today to document my journey on the Sinclair Method, which I think is a complete game changer, certainly has been for me. So hopefully this is the first of a few as I kind of go through my journey on the Sinclair Method, or TSM as it's known, over the next few weeks and months. The backstory of me is I've always been a big drinker. I was always first at the bar. I'd often buy rounds when it wasn't my round so that I could get another drink in while other people were still finishing their drinks. Last orders, I'd always order 2 drinks at the bar, and that, just kind of spiraled and spiraled. It's, I can never remember a time where I wasn't a heavy drinker, and that's kind of been associated with going out with me and going out with Matt and having a drink. It's a good drink, it's a heavy drink. I think it became most noticeable when it was around work, and for example, I was drinking 4, 5, 6 nights a week, 8 to 10 cans of beer a night, and I'd still get up go to the gym in the morning. I'd still go to work. I'd still, I'd get through the day. I'd function. I was a functioning alcoholic, and that's kind of where I identified the problems, if you like. So I've tried lots of methods in the past. I've reached out to organisations to get help. They've all been a form of abstinence. So it's always been admitting you've got a problem, labelling yourself as an alcoholic, and completely stopping drinking. And none of them ever sat comfortably with me. In fact, imagining a life without alcohol, it just wasn't for me. I had a great relationship with it. I had a fantastic relationship with it, but just as much as I wanted to change, I didn't want to give up. I think that's kind of, I wanted to change, but I wasn't prepared to give it up. I think that's the best way I can sort of, or honestly, describe it. And even when it felt like I was doing well, it always, like I said, felt like my addiction was just waiting there on the sidelines for me to trip up, either to fall off the wagon or get to a far enough into not drinking that I kind of felt a false sense of security and thinking, I've got a handle on it. So I'm not an alcoholic because I've gone for so long, but believing that I'd cured myself almost. But as soon as I got back to it, it was very quick that the alcohol had control and I did. So I came across the Sinclair Method by accident. I'd saved a video on YouTube months ago. You have these kind of peaks and troughs where you kind of want to get a handle on it, and it must have been one of them periods where I wanted to get a handle on it, and I'd saved this video, and it was titled "The Best." This will completely change your mind about alcohol forever. So I put this video on. I was ready to receive the information, and it was nonsense. It was just absolute clickbait. But YouTube auto played the next video, and the next video was a lady called Claudia Christian, who had done a TED talk, and it immediately grabbed my attention because there were so many commonalities in what she was saying. It was almost like she was talking to me, and she was talking about me even, and it just really grabbed my attention. So I spent the next week like all over YouTube, all over Google, just getting any information I could on the Sinclair Method, just researching. So in a nutshell, when you go to drink, this is how it works. So when you go to drink, or when you drink, you have these release of endorphins when you consume the alcohol, and it's those endorphins that kind of give your brain the reward, and that kind of release that sense of like overwhelming satisfaction. And with the Sinclair Method, you take a tablet, which is either Naltrexone, which is the one I've taken, or Nalmorphine, and you take that an hour before you drink. And what that does is it blocks your opioid receptors in the brain, which means that when the more endorphins are released, you don't feel the sensation of the overwhelming satisfaction, or that kind of rush or release, or you know, that kind of thing. I don't know whether I've explained that very well, but that's kind of it really. And because it's a learnt behaviour over time, you know, you kind of associate I'll have a drink with that amazing feeling, and you just wire the brain into thinking, you know, or those connections just get much more streamlined, more easier, and you know, your brain then is, you know, that kind of craving is looking for that feeling. So when you take the tablet, stop that feeling, you're kind of rewriting or rewiring the brain and them kind of neurological pathways into we're drinking but we're not getting anything. And it's really interesting because that makes sense to me. When it was explained to me kind of like that, it made sense. So over time, as you have a drink, take the tablet, have a drink, take the tab, you know, and those receptors are blocked, the brain is a bit like, well, what's the point in doing this? Because we're not getting anything out of it. Well, that's kind of how I understand it in a nutshell. That's by no means a scientific way whatsoever. You still get drunk, but you don't have any of the satisfaction or the, you know, that kind of rush. That's, you know, I don't know how else to describe it. I think the best way of describing it actually is it's like drinking non-alcoholic beer and getting drunk. Yeah, there's just no, almost takes the enjoyment out of it. You know, I guess. Certainly that was kind of my perspective on it. So, you know, the first time I'd taken it. For people, it typically takes between, I think it's 4 and 18 months before they start to see results and changes. However, there's a small percentage of people that are called early adopters that will just get it straight away. They'll quickly feel the results of it, and that's kind of where I think I kind of sit within that group, because almost on the first drink, almost from the first drink, I felt completely different and kind of disassociated from it. So I really want to make others aware of this because as an option, as I said, I've tried so many different methods and ways of getting a handle on my drinking before. None of them have worked. You know, they're all forced abstinence. You've got to admit you've got a problem. You've got to be labelled an alcoholic. You know, there's an element of shame involved in all this. Or, you know, with AA, which I tried AA as well, you know, believing in a higher power, and just none of that worked for me. You know, I tried all of them. You know, I was at a level to receive it, but you know, they just didn't fit with me. As I mentioned earlier, it was kind of like I wanted to get a control on my drinking. I didn't necessarily want to give up. I'd love that off switch back. So yeah, they never worked for me long term. Anyway, I was able to give up short term, couple of months, few months, 6 months, but I always felt like it was waiting for me. You know, just waiting at the end of the road, giving me that space and time, almost like saying, like this internal voice saying, you know, you do your 3 months, you do your 6 months, that's fine, but I'll be waiting for you. And it's either a case of, you know, falling off the wagon and failing, you know, having a drink, or getting to a point where you'd put that much distance in between you and alcohol that you kind of felt, do you know what, I'm cured. You know, I'm not an alcoholic because I've given up for 2 weeks, I've given up for 3 weeks, I've given up for 6 months, and almost feel like you kind of cured yourself. But once you get a taste of that beer, and then kind of endorphins, I guess, are firing off again, because then pathways are so strong, it just pulls you straight back down to it. You know, it's a known, it's a guaranteed feeling. So yeah, I guess that's really the reason why I never felt like I could get a handle on it. I'm relatively new to all this, but if you've got any questions or you want to reach out, then, you know, please do, because if I don't know the answer, I'd love to find out, and, you know, it only helps me understand it a bit better, and you know, might be able to help somebody else as well, because, you know, a question that you might have, I could answer that in another video, and it, could really help somebody else along their journey. So I'm going to cut it short there. I could literally talk about this for hours. It really lights me up, to be honest. I do hope this is of some use to you, or to someone you know, or a loved one, because it is, it's crippling, and I feel like I've wasted years to this disease, and I feel like I've finally found something that really works for me. That's not, that's not hard work. That's crippling. That's a fight. It makes sense. It feels right. I'm not fighting against it, which I always have. And it's almost like, you tell someone not to drink. It's like telling someone, like, look, you don't look in that box. Don't look in that box. Don't look in the box. Don't look in the box. It's like, what do you want to do? You want to go straight to the box and have a look. And with this, it's like putting the box on the side and just saying, it's up to you whether you want to have a look in the box. It feels, go back to what I said earlier, it feels like I've got that off switch. It feels like I've got that control, that kind of sense of thinking about it, that sense of considering, do I really want this drink, or is it just, an obsession, an addiction? And I feel like I'm getting, I'm not there yet, but I'm definitely getting I've got enough green lights and enough signals and signs for me to think, wow, this is a game changer. So anyway, for now, thanks for watching, and hopefully catch you on the next one.